Goodness with care from our villages. Arokya Milk.
Hi and welcome to episode 9 of Mahabharata with Anuja. Thank you so much for joining me again. Now, in the previous episode, I told you how Arjuna had violated the terms of his agreement and therefore he had to spend 12 years in exile. Arjuna decided to go on a pilgrimage and visit all the holy spots and travel, and he was kind of on the goody-goody side. So basically he was saying a lot of prayers and performing pujas, and it was his habit to begin every day with a prayer to Agni. Now he joined a group of holy men and they were all at the mouth of the river Ganga, a very sacred spot, and Arjuna was getting ready for his morning worship and he went for a dip in the river. Suddenly there was this irresistible force and it dragged him by the heels and pulled him underneath. Arjuna, as always, he was very brave. He just figured he'll see what's going to happen, and he found himself in a beautiful underwater palace, and someone had brought him there, and everything he would need for the puja was right there to offer worship to Agni. Now Arjuna, as usual, he wouldn't let anything distract him. So he performed all his prayers, and then he looked around and he saw this Naga princess standing there. He said, "It was very rash and reckless of you to drag me down here like this." And this princess smiled and she said, "My name is Ulupi. I've been observing you for a while now. Ever since I saw you, I've been in love with you, and I thought it might be best for me to approach you." And then Arjuna told her he would love to accept her love, but he said, "For the duration of my exile, I'm supposed to practice celibacy." Now Ulupi wasn't dissuaded that easily. She said, "I know all about your exile and I know about the terms. The celibacy thing, it applies only to Draupadi. And besides, if you don't accept my love, I will kill myself." So it was proper emotional blackmail, and Arjuna couldn't say no. So they were wed, they walked around the fire, and he spent some time with her, and Ulupi also sensed that he was just being kind to her, that he didn't actually love her back. So on the next day, she decided to let him go before he asked her to, for permission to leave. So she did the gracious thing. She escorted him to the banks of the river and she said, "The denizens of the water will never harm you. You will be invulnerable whenever you reach a water body." And Arjuna accepted her blessing and he went on his way. For him it was like a very, very pleasant dream, and he forgot about it even as he was walking away. Now Ulupi would bear him a son named Aravan, and Aravan would meet Arjuna later when Arjuna went to visit Indra in Amaravati, and this son born to the two of them was killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But that's some way off in the future. Let's get back to the present. Arjuna carried on with his pilgrimage, and as he was going, there was this again he was visiting holy spots, and in one of the most sacred spots there was a serious danger there, and all the holy men refused to enter the water there. And Arjuna asked, "What's wrong? Why are you all so frightened?" And he said, "This place is the home to a monster crocodile, and it's dragged a lot of holy men down to their deaths or torn them apart with its jaws. We will not enter." Arjuna was unafraid. He said, "I am going to go for a dip," and he went in there, and this monster crocodile came towards him, and Arjuna tore its jaws apart and dragged it to the shore. Now as soon as this monster crocodile was dragged to the land, it transformed at once, and there was a beautiful Apsara standing before Arjuna, and she thanked him with all her heart, and then she told him her story. She said, "We'd been sent by Indra, my companions and I. There were 4 of us. We were sent to seduce the sage, and he cursed us. He said we are using our beauty for evil, and so he took away our beauty from us. He cursed us to spend our lives as this monster crocodile, and he promised us that we would be released when a good man came and freed us. You are that man. We've been waiting many lifetimes for you, so please do come and free my companions as well." So Arjuna obliged. He went along, and all these apsaras were released from the curse. And it was like a series of adventures for Arjuna, and he kept walking, and he reached the beautiful kingdom of Manipura. Now he was invited by the king of that land, and he'd gone to the palace there, and suddenly his interest was aroused when he saw the extremely beautiful princess of Manipura. On enquiring about her, he found out that her name was Chitrangada, and immediately he approached her father and asked for her hand in marriage. Now this king said, I will be very, very happy to unite the two of you, but I have just one condition. She is my only daughter, and our only hope for perpetuating our line is to place her son on the throne. So if you have a son with her, you should gift this child back to Manipura, and he will always belong to this land, and this will be the place where he rules. Arjuna agreed immediately, and he was married to Chitrangada. He spent 3 very happy years there, and a son was born to them. The son's name was Babru Vahana, and he kept his word. There was a formal ceremony, and he gave this boy back to his grandfather and said, yes, I bless my son, he will rule from Manipura. And Arjuna had wanderlust, I guess. He did not stay for too long in one place, so he journeyed further south, and they say he came all the way to Rameshwaram. And he reached the spot where legend had it that Rama had asked the monkey king Sugriva to help him build a bridge of stone to take the monkey army across to Lanka. Arjuna looked at that spot, and he didn't seem very impressed. He said, see, I heard that Rama is a very good archer. If he was such a great archer, then why didn't he do what I would have done? I wouldn't have, wasted time, having monkeys haul stone and build a bridge. I would have used my arrow and my bow, and I would have built a bridge of arrows. Now there was a very old monkey sitting there, and that monkey started laughing. He said, you seriously think you're a better archer than Lord Rama, huh? And he said, I'll tell you what, you build your stupid bridge with arrows. I'm an old weak monkey. That bridge won't be able to bear my weight. And Arjuna said, you're such a stupid monkey, but I shall teach you a lesson. And they decided to have a bet. This monkey said, if you win the bet, I will be your slave. What happens if I win? I'm going to win, And Arjuna said, if you win, I will enter the flames. It's, it was quite a rash thing to do. This is a cautionary tale about gambling, actually. And Arjuna started building this bridge with arrows, and within a matter of minutes, he'd constructed a massive bridge made entirely of arrows. It looked very pretty under the sun. And this old monkey did this elaborate charade of, pretending to limp and shuffle. And then it had barely taken a few steps when the entire bridge just collapsed. And Arjuna was horrified. He said, no, I need another chance. And the monkey said, take as many chances as you want. I will break the bridge every single time. So Arjuna did it again a second time. He failed again, and he was completely crushed. Very proud man. He wouldn't go back on his word. So he started gathering firewood to build a pyre and enter the flames. It was all very dramatic, and the monkey just stood there and he was watching. And then suddenly, as Arjuna was just about to enter the flames, a young boy showed up there. He said, hey, stop, why are you killing yourself like this? And Arjuna said, I lost a bet. And this boy said, no, both of you tell me everything that happened. A bet which doesn't have witnesses is not legal. He said, do it again. This time I will act as the referee. And Hanuman, for that was the monkey actually, in case you haven't figured it out already. Hanuman agreed to it, and so did Arjuna. And Arjuna this time, before beginning, he said a small prayer to Lord Vishnu, and he started again. And it was done. The bridge was done again, this mighty bridge of arrows. And once again, the monkey still didn't reveal itself. It went and it walked, took a few steps, nothing happened. It tried jumping, nothing happened. Then suddenly Arjuna was watching in amazement, and Hanuman revealed himself in the form he'd taken when he'd become gigantic in size and jumped across the sea. He took that form and he was jumping on the bridge, and nothing happened. And finally both of them realized the truth. The boy standing in front of them was none other than Lord Vishnu, and both of them bowed down before him. He said, you're a devotee of Rama, you're a devotee of Krishna. That doesn't mean both of you should act like fanatics. you're too arrogant, Arjuna, and Hanuman, we know that you love Rama, but you were willing to let Arjuna die. That's not fair. Don't get carried away. Don't be too big a fan, don't be a crazy fan. And he advised Hanuman like that. And he said, see, you promised that you will be his slave if you lose. To fulfill the terms of your bet, you must perch on Arjuna's banner when he rides into battle. And Hanuman agreed to do that, and both of them shook hands and they parted as friends, which is why Arjuna's flag had the ape emblem. And the two of them parted on good terms, and Arjuna's exile was almost ended at that time. He reached Prabhasa, a very sacred spot again, and it was not very far from Dwaraka. So Krishna immediately came personally to meet his friend, and he escorted him back to Dwaraka. He said, enough of your holy trips and all, you come and spend time with me. And the two of them went there, and now there was a very, very happy, episode waiting for Arjuna out there. Krishna was showing him all the beautiful sights in Dwaraka, and he was a little restless. He was just searching the crowds, and Krishna knew what he was looking for, because while Arjuna had been studying under Dronacharya, lots of Yadava princes had also come there, and some of them were close friends of Arjuna. And he had a friend named Gadda who would always tell him about Subhadra, a Yadava princess, and she was Krishna's sister. So he'll always say, she's such a nice girl, she's so beautiful and so kind, all of us love her very much, she's the pride of Dwaraka. And Arjuna would always listen, so he was waiting, he'd heard so much about this girl, he was thinking, where is she? And suddenly he saw her praying in front of her temple, and he lost his heart to her immediately. It was love at first sight, and Krishna knew it, and he said, she's my father's favorite and everybody's favorite out here. And shall I tell you something very interesting? Gadda tells her also a lot of stories about you, and she'll always ask him, tell me what is Arjuna up to, tell me about the time Arjuna did this. So she also likes you very much. So Arjuna was very, very happy to hear this. He said, Krishna, I have to make her mine, you tell me how to do it. And Krishna said, some people, they like to hold a Swayamvara, but you know how women are. Women sometimes, it's hard to say what women are thinking. Karna, remember what happened to him at Draupadi's Swayamvara, so a woman may reject a man. The other option is, of course, for you to carry her away. She likes you, so she won't resist, so why don't you do that? And Arjuna said, if there's a Swayamvara, I am not Karna. She will choose me, but I am going to save you all the expense of organizing a Swayamvara. I will carry her away. So he borrowed a chariot from Krishna, and he got some weapons. And Krishna also told, about where she liked to worship at night. She had a favorite goddess. He said, she'll be at that goddess's shrine, you go wait for her there. And Arjuna was right on time, waiting very eagerly to see Subhadra again. And this beautiful princess, she offered worship at the temple, and she was praying, she was saying, Arjuna's here, you must make him my husband. She was praying to the goddess, and the goddess listened to her prayer. The moment she stepped out, Arjuna grabbed her, and he didn't even have to pull her into the chariot, because she just melted into his arms, and he carried her away. He was very pleased to see that she also wanted to come away with him. Now the maids went screaming, they said, our princess has been carried away by Arjuna, and we couldn't give chase. And immediately all the Yadavas were furious. They said, we invited that fellow here as an honored guest, he carried away our princess like this, we will not allow it, we will chase him down and we will kill him. Balarama was leading this charge. He said, come, let's go at once. He grabbed his plough and he's all set to go. Then he stopped. He said, Krishna, she's your sister as well as mine, no? What you're sitting here relaxed or like this, surely you should also jump in. Aren't you angry at what your friend did? Krishna said very calmly, my friend didn't do anything wrong and all. Subhadra also loves him back. So what's wrong? He asked my permission. I said he can carry her away. It's an honorable thing to do. Nowadays people would differ about these things. So please, everybody use some discretion here. So this was Krishna's argument, and he said, he continued, he said, all of you are talking about chasing him and defeating him in battle. I think that's a joke. None of you can do it. Only Shiva can defeat Arjuna in battle. And he said, do the right thing. All of you go as friends, go in peace. He will come back willingly enough, and then we will have a grand wedding. So Balarama calmed down, and once he found out that Krishna had given his consent, and all of them went, they fetched Arjuna and Subhadra, and there was a beautiful wedding ceremony, and there was a lot of rejoicing. And shortly after that, there were lots of presents given to the bride and groom. They returned to Indraprastha. where Yudhishthira and all of them were also waiting, and soon Subhadra was everybody's favorite there also, but there was just one exception, and that was Draupadi. It's not a big surprise. She was very, very hurt that Arjuna had gone and fallen in love like this, and she was sulking in her room and she was very moody. Arjuna tried to comfort her. He said, "Come on, don't be angry with me. You know I love you too." And Draupadi said, no, now that you have a new love, who has times for, you know, your first love and all. Now, no, it's okay, don't let me get in the way of a true romance. You go back to your Yadava princess, she said like that. And Arjuna immediately told Subhadra, why don't you give it a shot? Why don't you talk to her? And Subhadra dressed herself as a maid on his instructions, and she went to Draupadi. And Draupadi, the thing with her is she could not stay angry with Arjuna for long, even when he pulled ridiculous stunts like this on her. So immediately she forgave Subhadra and she said, may your husband be without equal, and she blessed Subhadra like this. Now shortly after this, there was another, Krishna had come to visit them right there in Indraprastha, and the two of them had gone for a walk. They were close friends, they were always hanging out together. They were talking and you know, discussing past adventures. And now as they were walking along the banks of a river, a very strange man appeared before them. There was a certain radiance about him, and the very air around him was superheated. So they looked at him, they knew he was not someone ordinary, and they waited to see what he wanted. He said, I want you to feed me. And Arjuna said, just tell me whatever you would like to eat and I will have it arranged. And the stranger said, I am not an ordinary mortal. The food which you eat is not for me. I want Gandharva. And he proceeded to explain. Agni had apparently lost all his vigor, and he was feeling very weak and drained. Now everyone performs these pujas, elaborate pujas, and Agni is of course there at all these events, and you know how people just dump ghee, right? So there was this king called Shvetaki. He'd been performing a lengthy sacrifice for 12 to 15 years, and poor Agni had been drowning in ghee and he'd lost all his energy. So Brahma had told him, you need to line your insides with animal fat, you need to consume this forest of Gandharva. Now Agni had tried, of course, but the problem was that Gandharva was under the protection of Indra because his friend King Takshaka made his home in that forest. And as it so happened, every time Agni would try to consume that forest with his flames, Indra would send his storm clouds and there will be heavy rain and the flames will be put out. So he needed help and he approached Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna said, I'll be very glad to oblige, but please help us to help you. I know a lot of celestial weaponry and things like that, but my bow is too weak to withstand the might of these mantras, and Krishna also doesn't have a weapon that's worthy of his talent. So why don't you help us out? And Agni immediately summoned Varuna, the god of the waters, and he gave Arjuna the fabled bow known as Gandiva. Okay, it was like an amazing weapon wrought by Brahma, and it was lined with gold apparently. And Arjuna always considered it an extension of his hand, and he was never parted from this beautiful bow. And he also gave him 2 quivers full of inexhaustible arrows, and he was provided with a golden chariot and extremely swift steeds. Now for Krishna he gave the Sudarshana Chakra, and he also gave him the Kaumodaki mace. So armed like this, the 2 warriors set out to do battle, and Agni began. He started, he released all his flames, and Gandharva was being consumed. Indra looked down and he said, I don't know how many times this fellow is going to make me do this, and he summoned the storm clouds, and there was heavy rain, there was thunder and lightning to show his rage. And but this time he was thwarted because Arjuna immediately built a canopy with arrows. Okay, arrows locked close together, and not even one drop of water touched Gandharva. And Indra was furious. He said, who's this? He's just a mortal. I know he's my son, but even so I can't let him get away with such impudence. And he summoned the celestials. So all the devas marched to battle, and Indra himself led the charge on Airavata. You have Yama, you have all the celestials basically. Even Kartikeya joined them, the commander of the gods, and they all marched to battle, and Krishna and Arjuna faced them alone. And they were so amazing together. They worked so well as a team that the celestials were driven back despite using their best weapons. weapons. And Indra was furious. He said, we have to lead another charge. We cannot let them win. And immediately a divine voice was heard. It said, Krishna and Arjuna are incarnations of Nara and Narayana. They cannot be defeated in battle. Back off graciously. Gandharva is destined to be consumed. And Indra immediately paid heed, and they all retreated. So Agni blazed in peace, and the entire forest was consumed by his flames. And of course, Krishna and Arjuna's job wasn't completed. They had to make sure nothing escaped the flames. Very cruel, I know, but it's what they'd promised Agni. Now only 3 people survived this, the burning of Gandharva. One was a serpent named Ashwasena. His mother was there. King Takshaka wasn't there in the forest at that time, but his son Ashwasena and his wife was there, and the wife immediately swallowed Ashwasena to protect him, and Arjuna released an arrow to lop off her head, and using that distraction Ashwasena escaped, and Arjuna was sickened by this. He said, you used your mother to escape. It should have been the other way around. I hope you realize that. I've never seen anything more shameful. And Krishna also condemned him for doing something this cowardly, and Agni also cursed him and said, nobody will speak well of you. So Ashwasena was spared. Now there were 4 Saranga birds. Okay, these were just they just hatched hatchlings, so they could not fly away. So they remained in their nest, and but their father was a rishi, and he had a boon from Agni saying that him as well as his own will never be harmed by fire. So these hatchlings survived, and after that there was one more person who survived. This was an asura named Maya. He saw Krishna looking at him with a chakra, so he immediately threw himself at Arjuna's feet. He said, please save me. And Arjuna said, he's asked for my help. I never say no to anyone who asks for my help. Spare him, Krishna. And Krishna backed off, and these were the only survivors. And when Agni had done his job, when he felt fully restored to his strength, he came back and he blessed the 2 of them. He said, people will always remember your heroism and they'll be inspired by it. And he went on his way. Krishna and Arjuna carried on. They were feeling very good. They triumphed against the Celestials. So the 2 of them were walking happily. And then they noticed that Maya was following them. And he told Arjuna, I would like to do something for you. It was very, very kind of you to save my life. So Arjuna said, your gratitude is more than enough. So just always wish me well, that's enough for me. He said, no, you should ask for a boon. Arjuna said, okay, then you do whatever Krishna asks you to. I will consider it, a debt fulfilled. And Krishna immediately said, you're Maya, you're the architect of the Asuras. So I want you to build a huge sabha for Yudhishthira. It should be unequaled in the 3 worlds. And Maya was very happy to accept. He went to the Himalayas where he'd concealed a huge store of precious stones and gems and other, fabulous materials. He brought it all back and he built this amazing sabha for Yudhishthira. They say the pillars were of pure gold, and it was encrusted with precious stones and gems. Basically, it was just too awesome for words. There was nothing like it in the 3 worlds. And they say he used a lot of illusion. There were lakes paved with little pools paved with marble and crystal flooring and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing. You get the picture. And it was a very lovely time for the Pandavas. They were all very happy in Indraprastha. So much prosperity, and Subhadra gave birth to Abhimanyu, and he was everybody's favorite. They all loved him. Even Draupadi loved him the best of all because he took after Arjuna and he was just like him. They say this baby had the special qualities of all his uncles, his father, as well as Krishna. Very special child. And Draupadi also had a son by each of the Pandavas, and these 5 boys were called the Upa-Pandavas. So I will conclude this episode right here on a very happy note, and I will see you next time. Next time the story takes a turn towards the dark side. It's going to be very interesting. Do join me then, and if you like this episode, please share your thoughts with me. Tell me what you liked, tell me what you thought about the whole thing, and be sure to hit like, share and subscribe to this channel. See you soon. Take care.
Sweetness with care from our villages. Arokya Milk.